pronouns. And I'd like to welcome you to Bucksmont Unitarian Universalist Fellowship's multi-platform worship. This is a free, creedless, religious congregation in the discipline of truth and the spirit of universal kinship. We join together in a cooperative quest for religious and ethical values, seeking to apply these values to the development of character, enrichment of the spirit, and service to all. I'd like to give a welcome to everyone joining us online and in person today, members, friends, and those who may be newcomers to our community this morning. It's a special morning. If you are new to Bucksmont and visiting us in person today, please stop by our visitor center in the front hallway near where you came in. There you can make a name tag for yourself and find some information about Unitarian Universalism, Bucksmont Fellowship, and upcoming events. If you'd like a hymnal or a printed order of service, those are available near the entrance to the sanctuary. If you are visiting us online or prefer digital methods, please email our office administrator, Beverly, to sign up for our email newsletter and to get connected to our congregation. Each week in our service, we offer time for people to share a joy or a sorrow from their lives by texting a phone number. That number is shared on screen for everyone now and will be again later in the service. If you would like to see the order of service, details about upcoming services, and other ways to gather with our community, you can find that on our homepage of our website, www.bucksmontuu.org. Whether you are a guest, friend, or member, we are glad that you are part of our worship service today. There is a lot happening at Bucksmont, and we'd like to highlight these announcements in particular. Join us after the service today for a retirement celebration in honor of John Hook. Number one, primary. Number two, reminder, today is the last day to sign up for the November 18th Circle Dinner. If you would like to meet more people in a casual setting with great food and scintillating conversation, you can sign up in the social hall after the service. Our little free diverse library opens its doors. Please join us for the ribbon cutting and public dedication on Sunday, November the 12th, immediately after the service. And take an art break with Nancy Taylor on Sunday, November 12th in the social hall from 12:30 to 1:30, creating Matisse-style greeting cards. Limited to 15 sign-ups, age 14 and up, and see the e-voice for more details. And now, we have a special announcement from one of our many committees that make up our community.
Hi, I'm Melissa Egbertson, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Bucksmont Gardeners. Our UU 7th principle says, we covenant to affirm, promote, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Our Bucksmont Gardeners work hard to put into practice the goals of our 7th UU principle. Over the years, we've tried to be good stewards of the land, transforming what was an empty field into a rich habitat that supports birds, bugs, and other wildlife, prevents erosion, and provides a restorative environment for human meditation, relaxation, and celebration. Years of work by many Bucksmonters, led by our own Susie Hook, have created lovely soil that is a pleasure to dig. At least 10 species of birds are attracted to the shelter of the trees and plants and find food in our garden. In the summer, we enjoy seeing the butterflies, birds, and other wild creatures. The gardens are a place of peace, reflection, and meditation. We hold our annual congregation picnic in the garden and use it for retreats, have outdoor services and ceremonies, and we share the space with visitors. Our beautiful gardens are part of what makes Bucksmont a welcoming and inclusive place. Gardening teaches us how to listen to the soil, the earth, the sun, and the rain, and connect to the needs and rhythms of life. As we garden, we observe carefully and are witnesses to our amazing world. Studies have shown many advantages to gardening, which Bucksmont gardeners will attest to: improved health, exposure to vitamin D, and exercise tending the garden, increased mindfulness and strength, lower blood pressure, and improved mood and memory. This garden is wise as well as beautiful and can teach us important lessons, one of which is wishes alone don't make dreams happen. Work for what you want. We're always looking for ways to be better stewards of this plot on the Little Neshaminy. We've made an effort to build on the framework of native plants established when the garden and the detention basin were first planted, while keeping cherished non-native specimens that add beauty and fulfill landscaping needs. We've made good progress in finding less expensive and lower maintenance garden practices that are also good for the earth. We've been able to spend less time weeding and begin to fill the garden with more and more beautiful and ecologically important plants. We're building our understanding of the way climate change is impacting this area and finding creative ways to adapt. We enjoy each other's company while we work in the garden. There are many kinds of jobs for all kinds of skill and ability levels. We can find a good job for everyone. And by everyone, we mean kids too. One of my best memories of Bucksmont is planting a tree with my son in the detention basin. He often asks me how the tree is doing. We're flexible in our gardening time, but normally work on Saturday mornings if weather permits. Ask me to be put on our volunteer email and text list, and we'll keep you informed. We hope to see you in the garden.
Good morning. I'm Margaret Lee, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm going to go fetch the stand. John often talks about the congregation being the big choir, and so in celebration of John's retirement and our big, very big music service, you get to sing too, outside of the regular singing and hymns. So I'm going to teach you this song that we were going to sing with the choir. You have a response. It's a call and response, and you have a response in the verse section. If you feel confident as the song goes on and you want to sing along with the chorus, please feel free to do, but I won't take the time to teach you that right now. I'll just teach you the responses to the verse part of the section of the song. So if you could put that, thank you, that and the next slide are what we're going to go back and forth between. Okay, so I sing, good friends from whom we now must part, and you sing, where are we bound? Let's do that again. Good friends from whom we now must part, where are we bound? Your hands and voices fill my heart. Here is my home. We'll do that one more time. Your hands and voices fill my heart. Here is my home. Let's go on to the chorus, which you can join eventually. Come, darkness, come, light. Where are we bound? Come, morning, come, night. Here is my home. Very good. Now we're going to start the song. Good friends from whom we now must part, where are we bound? Sorry, your hands and voices fill my heart. Here is my home. Come, darkness, come, light. Where are we bound? Come, morning, come, night. Here is my home. For those who work in harmony, you, where are we bound? We'll learn to live in unity. Here is my home. Come, darkness, come, light. Where are we bound? Come, morning, come, night. Here is my home. If we can join ourselves in song, where are we bound? Our hearts will live when we are gone. Here is my home. Come, darkness, come, light. Where are we bound? Come, morning, come, night. Here is my home. The spirit which finds music here, where are we bound? Will sing forever in the air. Here is my home. Oh, come, darkness, come, light. Where are we bound? Come, morning, come, night. Here is my home. Thank you.
Welcome to this special worship service of memory and of joy, honoring one of our partners, John Hook, in connecting this congregation over decades through song. As we gather in our sanctuary, in our homes, or watch from mobile screens almost anywhere, we are all together. Those watching now on Sunday and those who may be watching months from now, we are joined together for worship across both space and time. Here is our home, a holy place for hearts to grow, be transformed, and practice what it is to center love as our creed. Here is our home, where roots hold us close and wings set us free, and we create music to weave together this community. Here is our home, that we may depart, but which is always here to welcome us back, a place of memory, a place of imagination, a place of chosen family. You are welcome here, whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever the color of your skin or your country of origin. No matter your gender expression or gender identity, whatever your age, however you define family, wherever you are at this time, and whatever the source of your faith, you are welcome here. This morning, as we do each time we gather, we kindle our Unitarian Universalist chalice. We do so today in keeping with today's theme, with music.
One, there we go. The choir is standing up because you're going to be standing up to sing When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. This was written by one of my music friends, Joyce Poley. She helped me on learning some songwriting skills. So please rise as you're willing and able and join in singing hymn number 108, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and pride, and we see our faces in each other's eyes. That's singing. One of the things Joyce taught me was the importance of congregational song. I remember talking to Libby about that in her office one day. You guys are now singing congregation. I'd like to invite the kids to come up for a time for all ages, because we're going to hear a story. I even have the Wonder Box here. So you can come all the way over here. This looks like a little bit more open space than any place else. Go, just sit on down. And we got a Wonder Box. Well, I think I have a volunteer. Okay, what's in the Wonder Box? Can you lift it up? What's in there? What's this? It's some music. Whoa. This is the very copy I was given about 40 years ago by a lady named Shirley Josephson. Her daughter and son-in-law still worship with us. Yep. And it's a song called Fellowship Family. Do you know what a fellowship is? It's a home. That's excellent. That's exactly right. Bucksmont Fellowship is our home. We started as a fellowship, and we've remained calling ourselves a fellowship, even though we've grown from that size. And what the song says is, I look around and I can see the cherished faces of my family. Yep, just like what you said. And there's lots of big words in it, so I'm not going to worry about those too much, like each of us is a unique entity. I think that means we're all special, okay? But there is a part I'd like you to know, and that is, this is our fellowship family. Can you say that? This is our fellowship family, a place for you and a place for me, a place for you and a place for me. Our creed is love and our thoughts are free. Our creed is love and our thoughts are free. We are a fellowship family. Now I need to get my instrument. This, by the way, is an auto harp. Ask me about it if you want to learn more. I can go on for hours. I gotta get my buttons on. Now I gotta get my claws on, otherwise known as picks. There we go. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. Now we got lots of weapons to play with. So, this is how that chorus goes, okay? This is our fellowship family. Try that. This is our fellowship family. A place for you and a place for... Let's do that again. A place for you and a place for me. Our creed is... Our thoughts are free. Our creed is a fellowship family. I think it's better if I just play it through. This is our fellowship family, a place for you and a place for me. Our creed is love and our thoughts are free. We are a fellowship family. So that's the part I want you guys to really help me with. Okay, and I think we're going to stay seated down because I'm sitting on this chair and it's a good place for me to be, and then everybody can see what's going on, but let's all sing the song from the top. So we'll start with the chorus, I guess. This is our fellowship family, a place for you and a place for me. Our creed is love and our thoughts are free. We are a fellowship family. This is real start. Look around and I can see the cherished faces of my family, young and old and in between. Each is a unique entity. This is our fellowship family, a place for you and a place for me. Our creed is love and our thoughts are free. We are a fellowship family. We gather here because we agree that searching is our big words. And every person must be free to think and act. And here's our chorus. This is our fellowship family, a place for you and a place for me. Our creed is love and our thoughts are free. We are a fellowship family. won't you come along with me? It doesn't matter if we don't agree. I'll learn from you and you'll learn from me. That's how we grow in our family. This is our fellowship family, a place for you and a place for me. Our creed is love and our thoughts are free. We are a fellowship family. Gather around and you will see what your gift of love has done for me. I sing my songs and I'm glad I'm me, and part of the fellowship family. This is our fellowship family, a place for you and a place for me. Our creed is love and our thoughts are free. We are a fellowship family. Now I forgot part of the story, so I'm going to tell it to you now while I'm taking my autograph. And that is, where do you think Shirley Josephson got that song from? She didn't write it. There was a kid who brought it to us. They had to move from Huntington, New York, in the fellowship they were in, and they were probably about as old as Matthew and Grace here, when they came down to visit us, actually to be with us. And his name, his name is actually on here. Matthew Livingston was the person. You can see how they wrote his name up here because this was his copy. And the person who wrote it was B. Stoffaker, who I think was the DRE at Huntington Fellowship at the time. But I'm not sure of that. But anyway, that's how the song came to me. And it shows that that's an important thing for kids to do. Have you ever carried something to somebody else that they learned and liked to use? Yeah. Like a gift or something? Well, this was Matthew's gift to Bucksmont. Okay, let's go to our classes, or back to your seats for you two, okay? As you go on your way, as you live with gladness, go enjoy, go enjoy. May fortune bless your day with peace and loving kindness. Go in love, go in love. As you go on your way, may you be filled with gladness. Go enjoy, go enjoy. Fortune bless your day with peace and loving kindness. Go in love, go in love.
The offering in liberal religion is a vital part of our history of faith. As a covenanted community, people who freely choose to be here, our voluntary giving is symbolic of that freedom of choice. Each week at Bucksmont, we share our offering with a different cause or organization in the community. We ask that you participate in our morning offering in one of these ways. You can write out a check to Bucksmont and mail it to the fellowship. You may donate online now or at the end of our worship service, or you may place your donation into one of the baskets as they are passed. We will now receive the morning offering.
Yeah. Let Greg get caught up to us.
Spirit of this church.
I'd like to invite former Bucksmont member, Reverend Art Severance, who served Bucksmont as minister from 1988 to 1991, to share his reflections.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. This place and you all. Well, not necessarily you all, because most of you all weren't here when I served. But you all have come to be part of this place. So as I was saying, in 1991, when I left, I was a little bit late in getting here because I got a fender bender because I couldn't remember where the place was. Anyway, I was told I had 5 minutes, and I said, you know, it's going to take that long to tell the jokes, but I'm going to try to stick to that. Because this is a tribute to my dear friend, John Hook. My wife, Kathy, and I, with 3 young daughters, lived in Doylestown, and like many college-educated people in their 30s, were spiritual seekers, turned off by traditional religions of our youth. Kathy brought up a good Lutheran in Newtown. Me, having been involved in the United Church of Christ, or as we called it in New Hampshire, the Congregational Church. In fact, I had been so involved that I was the president of the youth council in high school and decided that I was going to be a Congregationalist minister. And so went to Ursinus College, not too far away, to do that. Except that the 1960s and 70s cultural revolution and occasionally drugs hit at the same time. And I started losing my traditional faith. I started reading about the different religions, especially Taoism, the Tao Te Ching. Psychological writers like Freud and Jung, and transactional analysis, and Erich Fromm, The Art of Loving. Abraham Maslow and B.F. Skinner and all of those people. Viktor Frankl's Search for Meaning, Virginia Satir's Family Systems Therapy, as well as acting and reading existential plays and literature, playing folk music, and considering at one time or another of perhaps making acting and folk music my career. Well, I finally graduated on the 5-year plan, and I won't go into details, at Ursinus, deciding not to be a minister because that just wasn't my thing anymore. We came to Doylestown, and at one point when we started having children, I started thinking about ministry again, even starting going back to the UCC church in Doylestown, which was a far cry from the Congregational church I remembered. And I remember leaving church on Sunday morning angry because I wasn't getting spiritually fed there. All I was getting was what I call commercials for Christ. And that wasn't what I was looking for. Not that there's anything wrong with it for those people who want that. And then my college roommate and close friend, Sam Hartman, who is here this morning, invited me to this place that he'd started coming to called Bucksmont Unitarian Fellowship. And he said, Art, I think this is just what you need. And he was right. So in about, I think, 1981, Kathy and I started coming here. And sure enough, it was my epiphany. It was Eureka. I was once lost and I was found. And in talking to John recently to try to figure out dates and stuff when we first met, when music first happened, he said that's about the time that he and Susie started coming too. It was kind of a boiling up of change at that time. Well, it wasn't long before we started playing music at the fellowship. Sam and me on guitars and John on his auto harp. The congregation was very different at that time. I wouldn't say it was illegal to use the word God. But let's just say we didn't say the Lord's Prayer every Sunday.
And we still don't.
And probably never will. I can't remember the first Christmas service, but I remember how moved I was by it and thought, oh, we can do a Christmas service without it being like the tradition. And I was looking forward to what Easter was going to be like. There wasn't any. And I said, why don't you have an Easter service? And they hemmed and hawed, and they said, well, because everyone likes to go visit the family. They were in denial, friends. And so I said, next Easter, I think we should do a sunrise service. And they went, ha, 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 sunrise service? Unitarians don't get up that early. And I said, I bet we could. And so Sam and I put together an Easter sunrise service, and the people came. And I understand that a lot of ministers since have blessed my name. You're welcome. But I know that the congregations have enjoyed it, which is why it's still happening. There was a hunger there for some spirituality. I've described myself as a mystical spiritual humanist, and still do. The congregation also had a reputation for being anti-clerical. There was a worship committee that put together speakers for the worship services, and I joined that as soon as I could. And there was a rule, an ironclad rule, as I was to find out, that you couldn't have a minister more than once every 6 Sundays. I don't know if anybody here remembers that rule. Okay. Well, I soon started finding out that you had to look at the calendar to find out who the speaker was going to be before you decided whether or not to come. No offense to any of the members who were speakers at that time, but some of them were less than, what I wanted to hear, let's say, because the speakers could speak on anything. And so what I found was when the ministers were here, it was pretty much guaranteed to be an interesting, usually very spiritual service, and those were sometimes the Sundays that I came. And perhaps it was foreshadowing, but those were the Sundays I liked. And one Sunday we had a speaker, and I remember who it was. It was Mark Lang, who was the minister at that time in Reading, Pennsylvania. And he came, and he had gone to the seminary that I had originally intended to go to way back in college. He had a corduroy suit on like I had, and he had a sense of humor similar to mine. And I thought, I could have been a Unitarian Universalist minister. And that's when I started thinking about ministry again. Did a worship service here, and it was like I started looking. I contacted the UUA. They interviewed me through a ministry here, and I decided I was going to do it. I applied to Lancaster Seminary, which was a UCC seminary, and I could commute because married with 3 kids, I didn't want to quite go to Harvard or Meadville Lombard in Chicago or Berkeley, so I went to Lancaster. This church, fellowship, you'll have to pardon me, I have served some churches afterwards in my time. This fellowship, anti-clerical as it was, raised $5,000 for a scholarship so I could go to seminary, which paid almost half of the seminary bills at the time. Well, I did a 6-month internship at Princeton Unitarian Universalist Church, which was the closest one that I could do it at and still commute. And then I was ready for the search. So this fellowship had also decided that maybe it was time, since I wasn't going to be around. The retired minister that they had as a member here had died, and they were looking for some sort of ministry. They weren't sure what they could afford. And they finally went and had some discussions about it. John Hook was the board president at that time, and somebody named Gary Bennett finally brought up the idea it was time to have a minister. So they decided what they could afford was half-time. They talked to Sid Peterman, who was the district executive at that time, and they said, do you think we could get Art Severance? Is that legal for us to get him since he was a member? And old Sid could kind of do almost anything. And he said, well, you can consider him, yes. And he could consider you. Nothing sure about it. Well, we considered each other, and I said, Well, the only thing is I really want full-time. So I would consider a 2-year contract at half-time, knowing that by the end of the second year, I will be looking for full-time. We decided on that contract, and the rest, as they say, was history. So I came for 2 years as a half-time minister, and I worked the other half-time at Delaware Valley Mental Health Foundation, a private psychiatric clinic. And as I used to say, I could always tell where I was. There wasn't too much confusion. And somebody once asked me what was the difference between patients and staff at that place. And I said, well, the way you can tell the difference between patients and staff is that staff have the keys. So the number one rule there is never give the patients your keys. And at church, well, that's different. So John and I started talking about music because it turned out that John and I, and sometimes Sam, did a lot of the music, and also dear Pat Hughes, who played the piano forever. And Pat did most of the accompaniment for the hymns. And so we were talking about different kinds of music, and we started talking about a choir. And John said that he would like to start a choir. And the rest is history, as you heard so wonderfully today. And so John got the choir going. And the 2 songs I remember most prominently, and I had forgotten that you didn't write Fellowship Family, John. But the song that you did write, well, the lyrics that you did write that were something that I remember and still use are the UU lyrics that I call translated to Shall We Gather by the River. And I asked permission when I left if I could use those lyrics wherever I went. And I have used those lyrics wherever I went, to churches from New Jersey to New York to Colorado to Texas, New Jersey, and in between, to lead it on my 12-string, because I think it's such a wonderful song. And obviously John's calling was music. He is a music minister, and he has been your music minister here for the last 40 years and showed his calling and made such a huge difference. This room is so different from where we started. Those of you long enough, John and Sam and a few others will remember, we started out in the basement. And we've worked our way upstairs and then out and out further. And this is just incredible space. So thank you all. Thank you especially to John. And I noticed you weren't doing Shall We Gather by the River. So I just want to read the lyrics as the end. Shall we gather by the river in a circle made of love, sharing, caring, helping, being as the rain falls from above? Yes, we'll gather by the river, the beautiful, beautiful river, gather with our friends by the river to build a fellowship of love. And the only thing I changed was, depending on where I was, occasionally I would change fellowship for community, to build a community of love. And with that change alone, you could sing it anywhere. Drops of rain fall in the river, blending with the gentle flow. As we reach to touch each other, we can feel the spirit grow. Chorus, storm and lightning on the river, strife and conflict test our love. Now there's strength in the river, understanding builds our love. Mother Earth, she bears the river. Father, Son, he makes it flow. Bind our spirits with the river. In the web of life we grow. John, from the bottom of the heart, my heart, and deep in my soul, namaste.
Thank you. And now I'd like to invite Reverend Libby Smith, who served Bucksmont as minister from 1993 to 2001, to share her reflections.
Thank you, Kevin. It is really, really special to be here this morning. And some of those songs I remember hearing during my time here and loving during my time here. There's so many different facets of John's music ministry that I could have chosen to talk about, but I decided the only way I would honor my time limit was to pick one very specific facet and stay with that. And the one I chose was John's extraordinary gift for working collaboratively. So that's what I want to talk about. Because working with John Hook was, without a doubt, one of the most satisfying collaborative experiences I have ever had in my life. We would meet each week before choir practice to talk about upcoming services and music and what might work. And sometimes John would be tearing out his hair because I am not a person who thinks ahead about sermon topics and themes, which musicians very much need ministers to do. I think I got better over the years, John, and partly with your encouragement, and it turned out to also be very helpful to me as well. But he would throw out ideas for anthems, and we'd toss them around. We'd think about whether they fit with a particular theme or not. We'd think about how all the different pieces of the service might fit together. We didn't have to be careful with each other. We could each suggest anything and be honest about how we felt about the other's suggestions and hammer back and forth. How about this? Well, maybe, but what about that? And eventually we would settle on something that suited us both. Sometimes we'd land on the same piece of music with equal enthusiasm, a true meeting of minds, and there was no question that was the right way to go. And sometimes I'd have a really clear sense of a sermon I was planning and the theme and the tone that I wanted for that service. And he would suggest pieces that would fit very well for that, even though they might not have been his first choice. But he knew they would help achieve what I was trying to do with worship that morning. And then other times he would bring a piece that he was really excited about using, and I would realize I could choose my theme and topic for the morning from that music, using it almost like my scripture text, and build the service around the song. So there was this wonderful, constant, collaborative give and take. And I think there were a couple of times that you brought big pieces of music. What was the cantata? Where we built the whole service around that cantata, and it was amazing. It was just a great experience. And John, I remember...
Songs of the Spirit.
Songs of the Spirit. And I remember really vividly the very first time we engaged in this collaborative, creative kind of conversation. It was when I had my very first conversation ever with John Hook, just over 30 years ago, when we were planning the music for my candidating week. Now, those of you who know how ministerial searches know that the search committee narrows it down to a single candidate who is brought in for a week. So I was to preach on Sunday, meet everybody in the congregation that I possibly could in every imaginable context during the course of the week, preach again the second Sunday, go back to the hotel that no longer exists across the street, and start packing while they voted. The stakes are high, and the pressure is high. So prior to that week, I was in my little apartment up in Massachusetts talking with this total stranger, John Hook, about music for the second service of that week, which was a service on humor in religion. The stakes were high, and I knew that this was the call I wanted. I wanted to come here. This was the right place for me. And so John suggested, threw out as a possibility for my second sermon on the theme of the use of humor in religion, that we use a spoof of the old gospel song, "Give Me That Old Time Religion." And I was very torn, because I knew the spoof and it was very funny. It also had the potential to feel disrespectful, especially to Christians. And the lines about the Druids running naked through the woods and Aphrodite wearing her see-through nightie felt to me like they might be a little racy and risky for a candidating sermon. So I hedged. I was trying to figure out, how much does he really want to use this song? How much do I need to try to make him happy? How much do I need to listen to what I think is right for this service? Realizing it really didn't feel quite right to me to use it, but not feeling sure that it was okay to tell him I didn't think it felt right to use it, because you see, I didn't know you yet. But I finally summoned up my nerve to say, no, I just don't think that's quite right. And it turned out that you didn't really think it was quite right either, and were just throwing it out as part of the mix. And in fact, I think you were kind of relieved that I didn't think it was quite right. And in fact, I think you may even have admitted later that it was sort of a bit of a test. And apparently I passed, thank goodness. And if I remember right, we did use that piece with much hilarity at my very final service 8 years later. I could never have guessed during that first very tentative exchange of ideas that we would share 8 years of lively and intense sessions of suggesting and discussing and rejecting and selecting, that John's music ministry would so enhance and inspire my preaching and pastoral ministry, and that we would both grow and change so much along the way. It was a joy to watch John develop in his role over time, as you did so extraordinarily. And his gifts of music and collaboration and collegiality enhanced my ministry and my life more than I can express. So thank you, John, and much joy to you.
Now we will hear reflections from Reverend Dan Schatz, who served Bucksmont as minister from 2002 to 2016. He is coming to us via video today because he is worshiping with his congregation in Westchester this morning.
Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Hi, Bucksmont. Hi, John. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to get away from my obligations in Westchester this morning, but I'm very, very grateful to Kevin and the tech team for allowing me to join you virtually. 35 years ago, the 16-year-old me attended a youth conference at this little fellowship in Pennsylvania called Bucksmont, and I met this great auto harp player there. He had a neatly trimmed beard. Yeah, it was that long ago. And we played Will the Circle Be Unbroken together. On some level, I will always think of John as that guy. But years later, when I grew up and I came to Bucksmont as your minister, I very quickly learned that he is so much more than that. Over the 14 years that we served together, I found John to be a brilliant, creative, deeply spiritual, and deeply, deeply sensitive soul, and also one of the best worship planners I have ever known. Back then, John had this kind of weird dual role. He was a volunteer, but he functioned like a staff member. But to his credit, John recognized that entailed special responsibility and special boundaries. So it wasn't a huge leap when we decided to change that volunteer role into a fully paid and professional one with the help of a Chalice Lighters grant. Since that time, John's gifts to Bucksmont, and I would say his ministry with Bucksmont, have just grown and grown and grown. The music program grew. We created wonderful services together, so many solstice services, Earth Day services, children's services, regular Sundays that just worked, and Christmas extravaganzas. Some years the choir was enormous. Some years it was smaller, and John adjusted each time. He reminded everyone in the congregation that we are all part of what he called the big choir. When our marriage equality banner got stolen, John is the one who figured out how to keep 200 people all singing together on a kind of jazzy beat as we marched the new banner out from the sanctuary and up to Street Road. And of course, John would think of that and he would plan ahead. Part of his genius is his ability to create and encourage and facilitate music in others. I have never known a musician more willing to set ego aside and just welcome the music that everyone can make. That spirit, John's spirit, is a big part of why Bucksmont is the congregation that it has grown into. So I called John's gifts a ministry, and I mean that. Whether or not you ever bore the title John, you are and have been for a very long time a minister of music, creating circles of community and song in this congregation, in the larger UU Musicians Network, in the folk community, and honestly everywhere you've touched. You have brought us all together in celebration and in spirit more times than any of us could count. I'm just grateful to have had the opportunity to share ministry with you for so many years. And I think back to Will the Circle Be Unbroken? I think of that circle of youth in the basement way back in 1987 or 88 or whatever it was. I think of the friends that we made, some of whom we lost along the way, but are no less part of the story. I think of the music with which you have gifted us all. John, as long as there is singing and music and spirit in this place, the circle you have created here will never be unbroken. Thank you for it all. Congratulations on your retirement. And maybe the congregation will sing together Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by. There's a better home awaiting. There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Congratulations, John. Have a wonderful retirement.
I'd like to invite Reverend Susan Rack, who served Bucksmont as minister from 2016 to 2018, to share her reflections.
As everyone has already said, it is so fabulous and wonderful to be here again. I was only here for 2 years, and those 2 years made a strong impression on me. And part of that was John. For me, worship centers around words. That's my job, putting words together for inspiration and inclusion, sermonizing and reflection. But music is important to create the flow and to hold those words together, speaking to and reaching people across a spectrum of belief and style and spirit. It takes a dedicated and cooperative team to do that. And as you've already heard, working with John Hook fits that description to a T. An interim minister has to hit the ground running, so you look for trust and partnership from the get-go, and it isn't always automatic. I have tastes and ideas about music, and they can be strong at times, although I myself have very little talent in that area. So in the beginning, it was a bit of a dance John and I would do to figure out what was going to work best, what goals we shared, what I was comfortable with, and what he was comfortable with. So first, though, I did wonder how John and I were going to get along, because I had met with Dan prior to coming here and was briefed on what was happening here at Bucksmont and how he and John worked together and how their styles seemed to mesh. And I thought, uh-oh. But I needn't have worried. Of course, given who John is, he kind of took me under his wing. And if I find that a little strange to say that, because as chronologically we aren't that far apart, and I brought years of experience in UU congregations to the table, but I could almost say John pushed me, really encouraged me out of my comfort zone. His combination of playfulness and seriousness certainly helped. He made sure we would carry on traditions important to the Bucksmont community, especially ones that I, as an interim and not living in the Bucksmont area, could not take on, like the late Christmas Eve service or the, as you heard, Easter sunrise service. Yeah, thanks, Art. He stepped right in, so there was continuity in that time of transition. Enough of the old expected things to maintain comfort and connection for the congregation in the interim. Another adage of interim ministry is that you don't mess with a good thing. So I cherished working with John. And he also made room for the new things that I might want to add or try out, and issues we needed to address, making sure we had music to fit the moment. He helped me work on expanding the congregation's expectations and hopes for a new ministry. Community and inclusion are something John weaves through music. There is always a place for you in John's choir. Whether we're taking that literally about the actual choir, or check that, choirs, here at Bucksmont, or just in general in the music community, in this religious fellowship. There is an expansiveness to John's catalog of music genres. So many styles, in so many cabinets. If it wasn't exactly in his wheelhouse, he'd make room for it and give it a try. And so I so deeply respect what John, in his choices and his direction of the music program and ministry at Bucksmont, created. Besides good music that fit the theme or feeling of a service, John's talents and efforts went way beyond what a job description might call for. It's a community, a family he created here. He makes room for everyone, no matter how long you're going to be around. What I loved about working with John was his dedication to his craft, his dedication to the Sunday morning worship experience, whether or not one is comfortable with the word worship, his commitment to Unitarian Universalism and to the Unitarian Universalist music community ever deepening and widening that beyond these walls. And especially his enthusiasm for all ages worship and intergenerational music performance and programming. His embrace of the new and his fondness for tradition. And John's huge love for the Bucksmont Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I think that last one is something John will never retire from. What shape this retirement will be, and all of that remains to be seen. And so, I don't know, I end with thanks. With thanks, with gratitude, and with a wish and a hope, John, for John and Susie, that this new phase in your life uncovers more riches, if that's possible. Thank you.
Thank all of you. Have enjoyed collaborating with each of you along the way. And one of the songs that Shirley also gave me years ago was called Spirit of Life. It wasn't in the hymnal then. No, it was from the Women in Religion movement. Carolyn McDade was one of the main minstrels of that music. And Shirley had got this song, and she brought it to Bucksmont and gave it to me and said, learn this one. And I did. And Carolyn has not allowed people to change the song very much. But she did allow, when we had a Spanish hymnal created, a Spanish transition, which she particularly liked. The song, Spirit of Life, didn't scan quite so well in Spanish or whatever, but the choice that he made was Fuente de Amor, fountain of love, or source of love. It expanded the meaning while being honored the meaning. So when we sing the Spanish, think of the fountain of love as well as the spirit of life. So we're going to be listening to the orchestra, the quartet, play the song for us, and as they play, I will raise you up so we can sing with you. Rise in body or spirit.
Let us now enter into a time of awareness within ourselves and connection beyond boundaries. Connection to one another, to that interdependent web of life of which we are each but one small thread. As we breathe in, we are connected. As we breathe out, we are connected. Amidst this service of psalm and music, this time of celebration and transition, this place of anticipation and memory, we hold space for a breath, a time for a pause, a time to hold in between notes, as each breath is a comma between moments. I share meditative words adapted from Michel Legrave. We, you and I, are in between right now, in between what was and what will be, in between who we were and who we will become, in between letting go and embracing, in between saying hello and saying goodbye. In betweenness, it's a thing. In betweenness is a time of fullness, a time of anticipation, a time of hope, a time of worry, a time of sadness. In betweenness is a time of waiting for news, waiting for departure, waiting for arrival, waiting for death, waiting for life. In betweenness is a time of transformation, a time of reflection, a time of action, a time of growing, a time of becoming. During this time of in-betweenness, of knowing and not knowing, let us enter into the silence together. As we breathe in, we are connected. As we breathe out, we are connected. May our minds create a vision of the world radical enough to be called holy. May our actions contain the promise of hope and the commitment to justice. May our hearts remember that love is a power that resists all forms of fear. May this place be a home filled with psalm. By our thoughts, by our actions, by our hearts, by our music, and by our very breath, may it be so. As part of our caring outreach to one another, we set aside a few moments to note both the sorrows and the joys in our lives. In these moments of peace and reflection, we turn our attention to one another. We hold each and all in our compassionate thoughts and the prayers of our hearts. This morning, we are lighting candles to mark the important moments in our lives. Each candle adds to the collective light of this community, a place that also holds the memories of those who have gone before and anticipates those who have yet to arrive. To share the joy or sorrow you would like held by our caring community, text the number that is now on screen. Please include your name along with your sharing. It is the same number no matter how you join us today, and you can add it to your contacts for future weeks. I will read them aloud, and Murray will light a candle on your behalf. What is shared today will go out in our weekly caring notes for those who cannot be with us this morning. Please remember to include your first and last name with what you share. And now we will light a final candle for all of the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken and deep within our hearts. With words spoken and candles lit, we honor our joys and our sorrows, those shared this morning and the many, many more that exist beyond words. Through our time together, our relationships are deepened and our community made whole.
Our next hymn used to be called Standing on the Side of Love, and that was what we sang when we went out to retrieve the banner. But Jason Shelton, another friend of mine through the wider community, changed the song that he wrote to include more people, so that those who were challenged by standing and who that hurt a bit every time they were asked to do it would be included. But he also said, and it's better theology, we're answering the call of love. So in our hymnal, it's listed as standing on the side of love, but ever since Jason asked us, we have been changing the words, so answer the call of love. So please rise as you're willing and able, and join in singing, answer the call of love.
After our postlude, we invite you to remain seated for a special moment recognizing John's retirement. Our chalice extinguishing words are adapted from Reverend Susan Manker Seal. Much of ministry is a benediction, a speaking well of each other and the world, a speaking well of what we value: honesty, love, forgiveness, hope, trust, faith, harmony. A speaking well of our efforts, a speaking well of our dreams. Here in this place is our home, one filled with music woven together and voices invited into chorus. This is how we celebrate life, through speaking well of it, singing well of it, living the benediction and becoming music. Here in this place closes one chapter, one song, and as one song ends, another soon begins. We are almost to cake, I assure you. I would like to invite forward John and Margaret as we continue our celebration of the music ministry of Bucksmont. As we begin the celebration, it is appropriate to relight our chalice, and I invite John to pass our chalice lighter to our next music director, Margaret Lee. We light our chalice in a spirit of celebration and in honor of John's next chapter as he transitions to retirement. For all the psalms that have been created, for all the music that will fill this place, for all the memories that will be shared, thank you, John, for stewarding our music program since its inception, and thank you for passing it on now. if you will step over here, and if you all will be seated for one more moment. Before we begin giving gifts, I want to share just a few words, and I will keep to the under 5 minutes that I assigned, I promise. I believe one of our very first one-on-one meetings was May 1st, 2018, during my candidating week. In the 5.5 years I've known you, it has been an amazing partnership in the creation of worship and community. I knew that one of the most important things in any congregation I went to would be a strong music program and a collaborative music director. I was so fortunate that Bucksmont had such a person in you, John. Your imagination and spirit of saying yes, but not just yes. You always say yes and. How about this? Help to build amazing moments beyond what I could have thought up alone. You work to bring in more people, more voices to our community's worship life, holding traditions, both musical and ritual, and helping to change when change is needed. We weathered the pandemic together. We reimagined what worship is and how to make music from homes and devices all over the place. We would not be as connected as a congregation today without those moments of music and magic you made possible week after week. I've learned to more deeply appreciate how music keeps people together and how to honor the traditions of this particular place, thanks to you. I feel deep gratitude for all you've given to this community and to me over the years. Thank you. And after today, we will only pause in our relationship, not end it. So I look forward to welcoming you back as a member. Now, John, we have 3 gifts for you before we move at last into the social hall, and you cut the cake to begin our meal. First, a hymnal from Bucksmont's collection. This hymnal will be in the social hall, and I invite everyone to sign it. You can sign it on the opening pages, the several blank pages in the back, or you can sign it in the margins of your favorite hymn. After today, this will be a keepsake for John of the community as it was this particular day and will never be again.
That is wonderful, because I have another copy of the hymnal that I bought myself, which has the signatures of people who wrote the songs. When the first hymnal was first taken out, one of the things I did, when it first came out, is I went to a conference on song leading, and they signed it, and that's when I had the conversation with Libby about a singing congregation.
Stay here. Not done yet. Next, I would like to invite Board Member and Fellowship Council Liaison Nancy Haggard to share the second gift. I get my John hug too.
Oh, yeah, of course. I didn't know you were done.
Kept it short.
John, congratulations on your retirement. Thank you for your dedication and service throughout the years. Your commitment to the music program gave us a lot of joy and a lot of happy memories. On behalf of Bucksmont members and the Board of Trustees, we present a gift card to you, knowing your love of outdoor activities. We trust you will make good use of the gift card. Everyone in our congregation will miss you, and we look forward to when you return as a valued member and a good friend.
Thank you.
And now I would like to invite Dina Condren for the last present.
So some of you might not be aware that I have the honor of being Bucksmont's historian / archivist, and I have been curating Bucksmont's fairly extensive collection of photos and memorabilia. When people remember, just send it to me. So I took the liberty of creating a scrapbook of many memories, but only a slice of your time here. I want to make you aware that this will be sitting on the table under the chalice. Yeah, thank you. The chalice mosaic in front with lots of pages for people to write notes, memories, thanks, all that kind of thing. Don't be afraid to write on the front and the back. Okay, and then this will be presented to you. So I'm not going to give it to you right now.
That's okay.
because I'm going to put it
I
out
may
front.
give you this one to put wherever it's
Oh,
supposed to
there you go. Okay, all right. So this is for you, my friend.
Okay, let me take a quick look. Oh, yeah. There I am without gray hair.
But may I point out, there is not a single photograph in the fellowship of him without a beard. Just saying.
There should be.
But there's not. Okay, so hope you enjoy.
Thank you.
So please do stop by that chalice mosaic in our lobby to sign both gifts for John during our celebration. And now John will go to the social hall and we will have cake.